So, welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you guys. Yeah, it's really lovely to have you all here. And I want to start by just saying welcome, really, to each of you, to all of you, to everything that you bring here, all of your uniqueness. Welcome. And I really want each of you to feel that you belong here. Yeah, so see if you can take that into the body. There might be some nervous energy, some questioning. Should I be here? Do I belong? Am I experienced enough? How do I compare to the others? Am I different? And I just really, I sincerely mean it. You belong. So this retreat is called A Home for Awareness. And the base sort of topic here that I'll be presenting is a very simple one. And it's really about taking what we call the energy body as a home, a base for awareness, for mindfulness. So this term energy body refers to the physical body as well as the felt sense of the body. So sometimes that can include beyond the body, right? It also includes the subtle energy in the body. So different cultures and traditions will talk about chakras and nadis and meridians and chi, ki, prana. So all of that is included when I say energy body. So this term, as it was so appropriately defined by one of my main teachers, Rob Burbea, it means, so energy body is a kind of reality that straddles the physical and the mental. So what does that mean? It's a kind of reality that straddles the physical and the mental. This felt sense of the body is very connected to the mind. It mirrors the mind, and the mind also mirrors the body. So you will see throughout the course of this retreat that there are a number of things that you can do with the mind, different lenses, different ways of looking, different meditative techniques that can radically shift this sense of the body. So there's two main things that will be going on in the practice here. One is just bringing the awareness into the body over and over and over again. And retreat is one of these amazing opportunities where we can take something, we can essentially shift our whole way of being, right? So the first thing is making a home for the awareness in the body. And I just want to say that is immensely different than our normal way of being. It is simple, but it is extremely different at the same time. And in any moment, even right now, if you bring the awareness into the body with your eyes open, eyes closed, you will feel a shift from just where you were at moments ago. There's an immediate shift. And there's ranges of subtlety to this, right? But again, main point here is we're choosing a new home. And the second part here is learning to tend to the body. How do we tend to the energy body? And can we actually view meditation practice, if only for a weekend, as tending to the energy body, right? So first piece is sort of more traditional mindfulness training. Second piece is connected to Samadhi, Samatha, Jhana, as well as insight practice, Vipassana, and actually deep emptiness nibbana, awakening, enlightenment. All of that is contained and expressed, or can be expressed, through this practice of the body. I'm going to draw from various different sources, including early Buddhism, sort of like Theravada, Pali Canon Buddhism, as well as perhaps some of the other vehicles within that tradition. I'll be drawing from my personal experience. And a lot of what I share is sort of spontaneous, so there's a chance I'll be drawing from other traditions as well outside of Buddhism. I'm not really sure. This is not a religious thing. Those of you who know me know that. There's no need to subscribe to any dogma or religion. And I'm really not interested in preaching at all. This is more like an offering. So really, I want you to feel that you can take something that I say and practice with it. You can take something, you can put it on the shelf, or you can completely throw it away. And I think this is important because there's something about a retreat, there's like an intensity here, right? Like everyone's come here to meditate. You're learning from a teacher that you're not familiar with. And sometimes a teacher will say something that you completely disagree with. And then you spend the next 24, 48 hours, weeks wrestling with that, right? Oh, I don't agree with that teacher. I'm not sure. Maybe I shouldn't be in this retreat, right? A lot of things can come from that. And just know we don't have to take ourselves that seriously, right? Take in what is helpful, and then what's not helpful, just put it on the shelf or throw it away. And I also want to say, just in terms of orientating everyone to the retreat, this is a very fluid thing for me. So part of what I'll be doing is trying to sense into where each of you are, what your needs are, and, flexing to some degree to that. So when we're on retreat, sometimes it's really important to listen to the body, listen to the heart, and give ourselves what we need, which can include rest. It can include taking your foot off the gas pedal and dialing down the effort and just relaxing, or maybe even standing up and going downstairs and taking a break. Like all of that is possible. It's welcome. But other times, what we actually need is the intensity. And one of the gifts of a container like this is you're around other people who are, maybe stretching their practice as well, challenging themselves. And sometimes we're just moments away from a deep opening, and all we need is a little bit of a push, right? So just know I'm very flexible in my approach. Some teachers are very strict, and I think there's a place for that too. But this retreat, it's not that long. It's just a weekend, right? So I think flexibility is kind of warranted. And why don't we start with a guided meditation? And those of you who know me, you'll know this, but sometimes in my style, I'll start giving a talk in the middle of a meditation. And throughout the course of this retreat as well, we might have periods of silence that seem to come out of nowhere. So just so you know that may occur. And so why don't we go into practice to find your way to a comfortable position. See how it feels to straighten the spine, to relax the neck, drop the shoulders, breathe into the belly. How does it feel to deeply relax? So this practice of feeling into the energy body is something that we do over and over again, and we're really interested in spreading the awareness throughout the whole body. So the attention will converge, it'll collapse into a narrow part of the body. It'll collapse into sounds, thoughts, it'll converge into feelings. And really all of that is okay. For this retreat, I really am not interested in fighting thoughts, in silencing all thoughts, in gritting our teeth in concentration. If that works for you, great, but if it doesn't, don't worry about that. Just over and over, we're spreading the awareness throughout the whole body. And the tendency of the mind is to go looking for something interesting. But ironically, when we take interest in the body, it starts to become very interesting. Something starts to gather. We can say that the subtle energy of the body starts to gather. And collect. There's a coming together that starts to happen. And you actually start to feel powerful. Can we come out of fear? Can we come out of fear and just come back to the only place there ever was and ever will be, here? And there's a simplicity to here and now that's very enticing. But it's sort of like it's like a subtle note or a subtle flavor. We have to attune the palate to it. And sometimes you can't expect that to just happen immediately. Sometimes that takes time and practice. And it can be helpful to put on a lens or a way of looking that welcomes whatever is present. So earlier I said that each of you belong. And also the pain in your knees, that belongs. The thoughts running around in your mind, they belong. The hindrances that come and go, they belong. The doubts, the judgments, the expectations. It's all okay. This moment is like this. This moment is like this. It cannot be anything other than what it is. It's like this. And this is a very skillful orientation of the heart. So I mentioned that we're going to be practicing with different lenses, different techniques. And what I recommend doing is, excuse me, spreading the awareness throughout the whole body. And when you put on a different lens or when you deploy a different technique, just watching what happens in the body. How does it feel in the body? So this mantra we just sort of repeated, this moment is like this. It cannot be anything other than what it is. It's like this. How does that feel in the body? Take note of that. And just know it goes deeper. Any lens that we discuss during this retreat, it's meant to be practiced, right? So this is just a weekend. And my hope is that you'll leave this weekend with tools in your toolkit. And you'll find that anything that you continue to practice with, some people spend their whole lives practicing with the lens I just mentioned, just that. And it can take you very, very far. And I want to speak now, I'm going to shift to a different lens. One of appreciation. So I'll offer some reflections, and you can sit with your eyes closed or open. And whether they're open or closed, continue to feel into the whole body. In fact, this whole weekend, when you're driving back home tonight, when you're eating your breakfast tomorrow, this whole weekend, over and over, come back to the body. But I'm going to speak about appreciation. And the Pali term for the quality that I'm discussing is called Mudita. So Pali is an ancient language that is sort of the closest written language we have to what the Buddha spoke 2,500 years ago in India. So I'll mention several different Pali terms. So Mudita, M-U-D-I-T-A, refers to appreciative joy. So gratitude, appreciation, inclining the mind towards beauty. So first, can we just consider how rare it is in the world today to go on retreat? We live busy lives. And what a gift it is for each of you to give yourselves, your loved ones, your family, your friends, and anyone who will come into contact with you in the future. You're giving them a gift by dedicating this time towards developing the heart. Can you feel that? Can you open your heart in appreciation towards that gift? It's like, wow. It's really amazing. You've come here, some of you from far away, with whatever level of experience you have. and you've sort of leaped into something very courageously. Can you appreciate the bravery? And I'm going to continue to offer different threads that may inspire some appreciation in your heart. You're stepping into a lineage. This word lineage is a very beautiful word for me. It's like you're stepping into an ancient lineage, a history, a heritage, a family of meditative practitioners that have been walking the earth for thousands of years. And for many of you, I know a lot of the people in your lives don't do this sort of thing. And sometimes it can feel lonely. You can start to feel isolated. But don't forget, there is a rich, vast lineage of millions of practitioners. And when you consider it, their work, their effort, their energy has contributed to you being here. Because somewhere along the way, you heard a teaching on meditation or Dharma. And it touched you. So they're contributing to you being here. And somehow you're giving back to them. You're giving back to future generations. I mean, really, I invite you to see the beauty of your action coming here today. And when you sit here developing qualities of the heart, qualities like mindfulness, I'll name a few, but I want us to think about and just feel in our bodies the enormity, the beauty of that gift that we give to ourselves and others. So the first quality here is mindfulness. What happens, let's say, in a room full of people, in a business meeting or in a war or in some sort of argument? What happens when someone there is mindful? Think about the gift that that person's presence gives those around them. And it's rare. But mindfulness could stop all the wars over humanity. So somehow in this little retreat in North Brunswick, New Jersey, as you sit here cultivating this quality of the heart, you're actually contributing to the peace of the world. And it really touches my heart. It's like in a poetic sense, I can imagine our ancestors looking at us with such appreciation. And you're cultivating power. There's this term that Robert Bea, my teacher, used once. He talked about soul power. When you go on retreat, you're putting away your phone, the TV, the radio, alcohol, drugs, distractions. And you may not realize it, but you're actually stepping towards your soul power, your inner strength when you do this. And I don't know about you, but for me, I can feel how it's sort of like my battery deteriorates, my inner strength, my power deteriorates when I subject myself to these kinds of stimuli day in and day out, over and over and over again. In a way, that's why we do these things. We do it to numb ourselves, to dull the heart. Because to be a sensitive being in this vast cosmos is not always easy. There is pain. There is suffering. But ironically, when we stop running and we turn inwards, and let's say when we take the energy body as our base, our subtle energies, our intentions, our mind, our body, everything gathers and collects. And there's a sense of power that comes. Now, I'm talking here a bit about the word samadhi. Samadhi is a Pali term and a Sanskrit term. And you'll see different people defining it in different ways. I like to speak of it in terms of a coming together, a harmony, a unification. So I like to give the similes of a Roman general calling his forces that are spread across Europe and Africa, he calls the forces back into the Roman citadel. And just think about the sense of solidity, oneness, strength, protection that the city would feel. So that's part of what you're doing. You're going from a scattered mind that's chasing after many different thoughts and emotions, and you're calling those forces in. The other simile I like to use is how a mother or father might feel when their children who are out, maybe one's partying in New York City, another one isn't picking up their phone, one is away in college, another one is halfway across the world, and how they might feel when all their children come home safe and sound. That's samadhi. And so you're cultivating that. Whether or not you feel it, you're taking a step or steps towards that. So again, think about the gift there. What a gift you give yourself. And what a gift you give to others. How much can you really be there for someone else if you lack that power, that strength? And can we turn this quality of mudita, appreciation, outwards towards everything that's here? If you'd like, you can open your eyes or you can keep them closed, whatever you prefer. But consider all the things to appreciate here. Look at all the things that are supporting us. We have this home, this shelter, this roof, the hum of the AC and the heating and the air purifier and the humidifier, even the hum of the fridge. All of it is here supporting us. And consider everyone else who's in this room. Just by being here, they're supporting you. Motivating you, inspiring me. So I'm inviting you to incline the mind towards beauty and appreciation. This is such a powerful circuit that we all have. And just take note of how it feels, how radically different it feels than maybe you felt when you first walked in the door. And it's a subtle choice that we make, actually, to go from a critical mind that's weighing and measuring how nice is this house, how friendly are the other retreatants, how skilled is the teacher, how skilled am I, going from that measuring to just inclining towards beauty, perceiving beauty. It's amazing. When you perceive beauty, everything appears more beautiful. The old English saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, is very true in this way. So if you'd like, I invite you to keep this lens of mudita as a primary lens throughout this retreat. And whenever you start to criticize yourself or wonder if you belong here or what did I get myself into or anything like that, to choose this other way of looking. Choose this appreciation. And maybe we can each connect to what brought us here, what moved us to come here. I mean, think about it. This is a weekend. You could be doing anything else, and you chose to be here. Connect with that. Maybe there's some love for yourself that brought you here, and just some sort of conviction that this would be good for me. It might be challenging, but it'll be good for me. So maybe it was love that moved you to come here. Love for oneself. Maybe it was love of Dharma, of whatever Dharma you like. Could be Buddha Dharma, whatever religion, whatever tradition, secular or non-secular. That can be a deep love, a deep devotion. And maybe you're starting to get a sense of this. When we take the energy body as a base, it becomes a cauldron that we can drop different things into. So if I just drop the word devotion, let's say I drop it on the top of your head and it trickles down your whole body. How does that feel to sense whatever it is that you're devoted to? It could be yourself, your family, a dharma, something else. What are you devoted to? And how does it feel to connect with that? And actually now I'm going to invite each of us to speak a little about this and share. So if you prefer to sit silently, you're welcome to do so and continue meditating. If you prefer to come out of that and stretch your legs or stand up or take a sip of water or anything, you're welcome to do that. And this particular exercise is not going to be a conversation. It's more sharing. So each of you is invited to speak a little or at length about what moves you, what you're devoted to, why you came here. Yeah, what moved you to come here? And I just want to say, sometimes on retreat, it's like we feel like we need to be profound, you know. And even for me, as I start this, it's like, oh, I should probably be profound, right? And then what happens? The heart closes. So there's no need to be profounder. We can open the heart and just share sincerely, and just trust. Again, because it's not a conversation, we might not be getting the feedback that we're accustomed to from others. And just trust that somehow what you're sharing is moving others, is contributing to the retreat. And if you'd like, you can react with placing your hand on your chest to signify that something touches you, or going in prayer position to signify honoring respect for what someone else has said. Or you can not react in any way whatsoever and meditate if you'd like. It's all good. So whenever you're ready, anyone who'd like to share, please, I invite you to say whatever comes. And I'll just add something that's coming up for me, and then we'll continue. Can we sense what it's like in the mind when someone else is speaking and when we're speaking? How the mind converges and narrows into something. And what does it feel like to keep the mind in the body and spread while we speak, while we listen? See if we can try that. And what can happen is, because when the mind is spread throughout the body, it kind of serves to what we call open the heart. It's a lot more difficult to be closed when the mind is in the body. For somehow, I mean, that's how I feel it. See if you experience that. So when you're sharing, it's like, my mother used the image watering the plant. It's like, for me, it's like my plant is getting watered, because I'm feeling my body as I listen. And so anyway, I just wanted to mention that. And I'll keep saying it over and over throughout the whole retreat. Feel the whole body. And if anyone else would like to share, feel free. Okay, just want to make sure we're all good. Okay, great. Thank you all for sharing. Yeah, it's very lovely to hear your intentions, what moved you to be here. So just in terms of logistics, if what we're going to try and do is move into what's called noble silence. So some of you will have experienced this before. It might be new for others. Del mentioned the idea of stepping out of chaos and into silence. So think of this not so much as a rule, like, oh, I need to be silent and not get in trouble. And it can feel very confining at times, but it's all about how we perceive it, right? So we can perceive it as a gift that we give to one another, the gift of silence. And somehow we're still communicating, even though we're not speaking with our words, with our energy, our presence, our smiles, our eyes, we're still communicating. And because this is a relatively short retreat, I am going to have, I think, quite a bit of periods where we're sharing like we just did. where there's questions and answers and also one-on-one time. So it's not going to be that silent. And for some of you, that'll be really great. For others, you'll be like, oh man, I wish I had more silence. And the reason I'm doing that is, if we had a couple of weeks, that silence can really build and into something incredibly powerful and beautiful. But I think my suspicion is for this group, some sharing will actually be really helpful. But of course, just like in the previous session, you don't have to share, right? You can remain silent. So so that's noble silence. And I mentioned it, I believe, on the Google Doc, but to the extent that you can alert your family members and whoever you're going home to that you're trying to uphold this sort of silence, and to the extent that they're willing to honor that, that might be helpful for you as well. So really try and think of it as a gift. And believe me, it is. And then I think the last thing in terms of logistics is I want to say a note on Sila. So Sila is another one of these Pali terms that it's typically translated as virtue or ethics. It's sort of like the moral code that is considered to be the foundation of meditative practice in a lot of different traditions. And Sila is actually something that's incredibly profound. Typically, when you hear about Sila in the context of Buddhism, you'll hear about the 5 precepts, which are sort of these like rules. Basically, I will not harm or kill a living being. I will not lie. I will not steal or take that which is not given. I will not commit adultery or sexual misconduct. And the last one is I'll abstain from intoxications, drinks, drugs, etc. Things that cause heedlessness or mindlessness. And so it's looked at as, it becomes like any other organized religion, right? It feels very kind of rigid and stale. But actually, it's something much more than that. Thich Nhat Hanh, who was a very famous Zen Vietnamese monk who recently passed away, he would talk about the 5 precepts in terms of their opposites. So not only will we not harm or kill a living being, but we will cherish, love, protect all living beings. Like, not only will I not speak falsely, but I will speak straightforwardly and true. Right? So already you can see how in this approach, the 5 precepts are being they're getting enchanted. Now there's more beauty, magic. The heart is moved a little bit more, right? And really, Sila or virtue is another way of looking that actually radically transforms our perception. Everything the Buddha spoke is connected to awakening, enlightenment, nibbana. It's connected to what's called emptiness and dependent arising, which is something I'll likely speak a little bit about in this retreat. So what I mean by that is everything we do, knowingly or unknowingly, affects our perception of the world. We actually build and concoct our experience. Our very sense of who we are and what the world is, our sense of time is being built by the mind. And this might sound abstract, but you can actually experience this directly. And this is very subtle. So, for example, let's take the 5th precept. I'll abstain from intoxication. Right? So speaking from my own experience, what does this do as a way of looking? And again, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to enchant Sila and make it more than just a set of rigid rules, right? To really inspire and move us towards this practice of Sila. So for me, back when I was drinking and smoking, right, like let's take weed for example. when that's there as something to turn to, I can run from the moment. I can run from my feelings. I can run from the stress of my job. I can run from the reality of my situation, the quote unquote reality, into something that feels numbing to a sense, dulling, sort of like an escape, right? And it's like, why might I be interested in not doing that anymore? Is it because someone said it's bad? The Buddha said it's bad? Right? Is that why? Or some other religious figure or our parents said it's bad? Is that why we don't want to do it? I want to offer a different rationale. That movement to run from something is a movement of fear. And ironically, when we move out of fear, we strengthen that which makes us fearful. We actually build a more scary experience of the world. Because we're underscoring, highlighting the notion that there are things to run from in the world. So it feels like an escape, but actually what we're doing is strengthening the tendency to run. We're building a dark world. And the same can be said when we harm someone else, when we take something that's not given, when we lie, when we steal. We're actually building a sense of the world that is darker. Conversely, when you come to this practice of Sila, when you're interested in goodness, there's a phrase in the Pali Canon, in the ancient discourses, one who is skilled in goodness. Wow. I mean, when I hear that, I get chills. One who is skilled in goodness. When you're skilled in goodness, you build a good world. Your sense of the world actually shifts. Your faith in humanity, things of this nature, will actually shift. And your capacity for samadhi, for the gathering of the mind, for love, for freedom, for joy, is actually supported by a Sila practice. So it is rightly said, typically and traditionally by many teachers, that Sila is the foundation on which samadhi, like these deep meditative states of bliss, can arise. It's the foundation for panya, what's called wisdom, liberating insight, awakening to arise. But I'll also say, less known, less talked about, is that these other stages, like samadhi, like wisdom, are mutually supportive in the context of Sila. So it's not just that virtue allows us to become great meditators. The beautiful, rich, deep experiences that we can come to in meditation support our capacity to be good, to be virtuous. So for me, and I tell this to people because I know a lot of people feel this way, and I felt this way, of like, oh, I can't meditate because I'm still smoking weed or drinking, or I'm partying, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that, or I'm not a good person, or there's all kinds of things that we can feel when we hear the sort of traditional teachings. But I actually don't necessarily think that's the case. For some of us, we might experience deep states of meditation like samadhi and the jhanas before we give these things up. Now, if we give these things up, there's a better chance, yeah, for sure. But in my case, it was like I had some level of Sila, and then samadhi started to come. And that the beauty, the power, the richness of samadhi called me to improve my Sila. And it wasn't even like, oh, I need to follow this rule better. I need to stop smoking. I need to stop drinking to make my samadhi better. It was more just like, wow, my meditation practice is going into some really beautiful waters. Like, this feels so good. There's so much bliss here. It's like everything I ever wanted was coming to me in moments of meditation. So why would I restrict myself from that for a day because of a hangover, or for an hour because I was high, right? So I just want to mention that many of the factors on the path, the Noble Eightfold Path in Buddhism, by the way, mindfulness is one of the factors. Sila is a group of factors. Samadhi is one of the factors. Many of these, what we call factors on the path, are mutually supportive. So they build on one another, right? So you may not realize it, but when you cultivate mindfulness, at the same time, you're building your capacity for love. It may not be immediately apparent to you, but it's actually happening. So I know this last, I said it was logistics, but it ended up being a Dharma talk. This last piece about Sila is really my encouragement for you all to take this weekend and just let go of anything that doesn't feel good to you. Anything that doesn't feel skillful. And maybe in the back of your mind, you've been thinking, oh, I should not spend so much time on my phone, or, maybe you've had these thoughts over the last few months or years even. Just see if throughout this short period, if you can bring some dedication to your Sila practice. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to learn more and get some free resources, check out my website, meditatewithranga.com.